Genius the Transgression. Behold, the secrets of immortality. He looked like a bad bitmap, sort of fuzzy and indistinct, with little blue eyes like smears on a round grey face. He said he was out of the game. The game? I asked. My voice sounded so bored. 10 years of this, I thought, next month. But the man intrigued me. I had never been intrigued before. Not in medical school, not when they told me their problems, not when they cried. I remember caring once when I was young, and I dreamed of how other people saw the world. But that had been a lifetime ago, and now I felt raw and tired. Anyway, the game, he said. That makes me sound like a gangster. He laughed. His voice was reedy. No accent. I tried to look at his face. I was good with expressions, but my eyes slid right off him. I was a scientist once. I was young and brilliant. Do you remember what it was like, being young and brilliant? I didn't think I ever was, ever either. This was a smart one, though. I smoothed my skirt and refused to answer his questions. What was your field of study? This Jonas Cliver was a doctor. Well, that's what it said on the fact sheet. Dr. Jonas Cliver. Followed by Mike Nonsense scribblings. Something about schizoid and fantastic inner world. And something that looked like math problems. Damn Mike. Good psychiatrist, but he had handwriting like a pharmacist's. I studied everything, Jonas said, with an effective wave of one fuzzy hand. I needed my prescription checked. No, the hand wasn't fuzzy. Translucent. Thin. He was so very thin. I had a headache suddenly, and part of me blamed this man. He was talking, so I focused and listened. My initial studies were in aeronautical engineering, but who cares about space anymore? Sometimes I look up and think I can see bits of our future burning up in the atmosphere. No, it's all computers now. God, would I have said that 50 years ago? I remember people complaining after the war. It's all rockets and nukes now. No craftsmanship. Fuck them, I said. Well, fuck me. How old was he? I tried to get a closer look, but saw only his lean face and hazy eyes. You're disillusioned with science? I ventured. Never had a chance to get sick of it, the man said. Never really did. Can I smoke? Sure. I hated it when they smoked, but it helped. Do you have any cigarettes? Haven't smoked in 40 years. Sorry. No matter. No reason to start now. He picked a pencil off the low table in front of him and fiddled with it. I feared he had fallen silent. I didn't like how this session was going, never liked talking with people who might be smarter than me, and this was one clever old bastard. But he started up again, and as he swung the pencil in front of him like an airplane, swoop, swoop, I watched those little stick-like fingers and considered eating disorders, or the last few weeks of many diseases. You have no idea how much I hate miracles, he said, and didn't say anything else, just stared at the ceiling like he could see the stars through the roof in midday sky. Miracles? Non-repeatable phenomena, he said. Some stuff only happens once ever. How do you build up a model for that? What would you do, Doctor, if you encountered a soul that was truly unique, different from all the others, different from all the models you had seen? He sighed, an old ragged sound. You said that you'd never got a chance to get sick of. That was a rhetorical question, girl, the man said. Rhetorical questions are for idiots, and I'm humoring you today. I backtracked, suddenly lost. I looked down at my notes. They didn't make any sense. I had added to Mike's chicken scratches, but what I had written was all nonsense. Like a psychology primer running through a German-English translator, a dozen times. Or some other world's definition for id and ego, I found myself pondering how the other words would conceive of the mind. What coincidences would occur there, or not occur there, that had occurred here, from which they would try to build up a model of the mind. How much would they have missed? Just by accident? What had we missed? I pulled myself back. My head felt all stretched and deformed, and suddenly I was afraid of looking at Jonas, like he would see a monster. Stop it! What had he asked? What would I do if... Are you asking about truly alien minds? I asked. Because I don't think there are any. I spent 5 minutes explaining some theories I had about the evolution of thought and the necessity of certain developments and how we interface with the world. So, I said, There can be a range of expression in thought, but no discontinuities. Jonas had, during my speech, sat up and snagged a pen and a memo pad and was writing furiously. I glanced over at him. The first half of the page was just dented paper. Jonas had forgotten how to deploy the pen nub, but the bottom half was the palimpsest of scribbled words. "That's really good," he said. He seemed clearer now, and I flinched when he looked up at me with those fierce blue eyes before they darted back to the memo pad. Then, as if embarrassed, he sat back down. He said, "Sorry, I find myself violating social norms more and more. I tell myself I'm getting old and forgetful, but really, I just don't care. Not after what I've done. Why would it matter?" "What have you done?" Carefully, I put my pad aside and adjusted my glasses. "Oh, lots of things. Lots of bad things. I lied to myself and hurt people. I was in the war." "Vietnam?" "You flatter an old man. World War II. I was 19 when I became inspired." "With what?" "With inspiration. The raw stuff. No form, just pure idea. Maybe you're right about alien minds, because it's not like it was a mind. Not as we understand it. I was at Bletchley Park. Maybe you read about it. We broke codes there, and I wasn't very good at it. I was goddamn worthless. Then one day the answers came like someone ran 1,000,000 volts up my ass, and my brain turned into a light bulb. Only thing was, I couldn't crack the codes. But I couldn't tell anyone why. Couldn't explain. I was inspired, you see. I wasn't smart. Not like some of those guys, but I was a genius. I shone like the sun. Atomic fire shuddered inside my skull and flew out of my eyes to light up the world. I ran with it. God, I embraced it. Suddenly I went from a failure to a miracle worker. I figured things out, and no one understood how. No one could make sense of how I did it, me least of all, but I could do it. Have you ever felt that? I think you have. I remember being 17 and imagining what other minds must be like. I remembered models leaping into my mind, unbidden, like someone had been sending mail to my brain in the middle of the night. It had been horrible, those half-glimpses of a greater truth, that sickly light bubbling up from my own mind, and I shuddered at the memory. I had pushed it away, disgusted. It had been outside me. It had wanted something. Thought without mind, idea without intellect, genius, pure and beautiful. I wasn't going to answer his question. Focus on the other people in life. There we go. Everyone has ties. No man's an island. You must have known some incredible minds at Bletchley Park, I said. I did. Though the greatest didn't get into any of the books you might have read. His name was Reggie. Well, Reginald. Then a bunch of other names, and the fourth, but we called him Reggie. He was like me. Gifted. Like me. Inspired? I asked. The man nodded. Was he a teacher? A mentor? Another nod. I couldn't keep the eagerness from my voice. What did he teach you? Dr. Cliver smiled. He taught me all sorts of crazy shit, which is sort of why I'm here. He laughed. Yeah, those were heady days, fighting the evil snake people and the sorcerer scientists. He looked at me. You're looking at me like I'm making sense. Where's your psychiatric deadpan? The bastard was playing me, I realized. I glanced at the clock. He had 10 more minutes. What if I start, Jonas said, by telling you all the crazy stuff I believe, and next time we'll work through some kind of meaningful clinical diagnosis. Go ahead, I said. I got myself a clean piece of paper, not one covered in nonsense. I am a genius, Jonas said. Not a very smart person. I'm a mostly smart person, slipping a little in my old age, but I am a genius. I am a miracle worker, a maker of wonders. I traveled to the moon in 1952, making the trip alone except for a thing that was neither fish nor wolf, that I had bred from plasm and living glass. I had mastered the axioms, the secret truths of inspired science. I spent most of my life struggling against Lemuria, a group made of men, like me, who kept a yoke around humanity's neck. And when they were dead and humanity was free, I watched us spiral into generations of insanity and war. I have committed crimes in my hunger for knowledge that would sicken you, and here, at the end, I understand that all my knowledge means nothing, that none of my wonders will benefit a soul, that they were only parts of inspiration cast out into the world to live here for a time. I understand now. Nothing I have achieved will last, and the blood on my hands will dry there when I am dead, and from it no new life will come forth. I am not mad." He sat up, lean and insubstantial and wretched. They were open-minded at the park, but not open enough. They started to hate me, fear me. Working alone in the dark, those were paranoid times. They threw me out, revoked my clearance, and tried to have me committed. Reggie didn't speak up for me. Thought it would be good for me to get out of it, but I wasn't mad. Jonas sighed like a math teacher explaining the same thing for the 10th time. I wasn't mad, and I promised that I'd prove it to them. Shows how little I knew. But now, they're all dead, and no one cares about whether or not I was right. And in the end, I was as much of a fool as they were. "That's all the time we have for today," I said in what seemed like a very professional voice. "I'll see you again. Have some cigarettes waiting, would you?"